8:17, a very good morning to you from, well, it's just clouded over a little bit here, the TT Grandson, but it's quite high cloud, which is good. Joined on the chat show by John Watterson from Alma Newspapers and the TT News publication, and Manx Radio sports editor. Sports editor, that's better actually, he still should be sports editor. Tim Glover, he will be sports editor after this programme. Anyway, probably back to, intern journalist, that's what he'll probably be. Anyway, pardon, what was that, sorry?
T-Boy.
T-Boy. Has he ever made anyone a cup of tea? Probably not. Anyway, Christy, we've got some messages coming in. How do you get in touch?
We are live on Facebook, over on Manx Radio TT Facebook's page, and we're getting quite a lot of messages on there. Thank you so much for all of your interaction. We really do appreciate it. Pete says, good luck to all those in the Senior and Sidecar 2 race today, and is coming next year. Can't wait to see everyone. Michael says, TT, so the marshals tell you, be safe, treat them with respect. Without these people, no racing would take place. We'll come back to
volunteers.
That. Yeah, we'll come back to that in just a second. And thanks to Damien, who's really enjoyed it this week. Says, best of luck to all the riders today in both races, especially all the Irish lads, both Southern and Northern, in the Senior TT. Can't wait to get over for the Manx Grand Prix. And there's one more, Paul. Thank you for your coverage. I've been tuning in from Australia. It's dinner time over here. Smoked brisket and beers for the Senior. But we were just talking about volunteers, and I just want to point out a tweet that I saw yesterday from the lovely folk from Isla Ben and the team at Scott Physio, because she posted a tweet yesterday saying that already they'd notched up something like 570 hours of voluntary work, because they every day are there from very early in the morning, sort of like 6.
Now.
Yeah, well, they've been there since I think 7 o'clock something this morning. There for the guys, there for the riders, making sure they're safe. They're right there in Parc Fermé, taping up the fingers and everything. They work so hard, and it's all voluntary. So I just wanted to mention that, because as with the marshals as well, so many people give up their time for this. And
they come over for the holiday, don't they, as well, to enjoy the Isle of Man, and and marshal and make friendships, and marriages and all sorts have been made by it all over the years. So yeah, it's good. Well done to you all out there today.
I can't believe some of the messages we've had to put out over on the commentary that have come down from the clerk of the course this year. The one at Quarry Bends was the one that just staggered me.
About the kids
being put on the wreck-to-sell fencing by parents. I mean,
never known anything like it. And also the drone thing as well. Again, there's probably going to be a new influx of people coming to that. Thank goodness for that.
We can hear again now.
It sounded like something from the Teletubbies, Nunu, whatever it was. Search it on Google if you're not sure. The drone thing, there'll be a new influx of people coming in today, and you're going to sit by the track. And if you've got a drone, I know they're dead easy to buy these days. You're not allowed to fly them around the Isle of Man TT Mountain Circuit or the Balound, the Colas Balound Circuit as well. It is an offence, a CAA. It's not just a police offence, it's a CAA offence, which is even worse, if that's the right word.
Is it worse?
You can get really, really stung by that. So please do not, if you've got a drone, go and fly it on a beach somewhere, but get it away from the TT Mountain Circuit. We do not want any of that going on today. Chrissy, a couple more messages and we'll get back to the boys. Yeah,
a couple more messages. So we have, let's see, I'm just going to go back up to those other ones. Gary says, I've been there all week, but now I'm back home. Good luck to our local rider, Mr. Hillier, today. Graham says, like to say thanks for the great coverage. I was over last week for practice. Thank you again for giving Chris McGann the stickers in memory of Artie Walmsley. Good luck today.
No problem.
Be safe. And Alex says, can't believe this will be the last day of the show. Can't we do this every day?
No.
I think trying to convince these many thousands of people to go and do a race for us every day might be a little bit much, and the locals might get a little bit upset about the road closures. But it's been lovely. If we didn't have the racing, what on earth would I talk to you about, Chris Kinley?
I don't know.
Sort dread to think.
We'd find something to yak about, wouldn't we? I suppose we would.
Yeah, we would.
John Watson, you've been involved in motorcycle racing, cycle racing, all sorts of racing, being the sports editor for the newspaper for how long now, John?
Over 30 years, yeah.
Wow, blimey, that's a long time, John, isn't it?
Actually involved with the paper well over 40 years, so.
Blimey. Yeah. And you've seen it in all its various guys. You've seen this place change up here at the grandstand around the
I was thinking that before when you mentioned about here and about the setup here now, which is amazing. Going back to the drone issue, I totally agree with the drone issue. But walking up through here today, this morning, I thought it'd be fascinating to see a drone shot of this now. It's like a mini town, isn't it? From the lower paddock to this area to the new area, I call it here on the right, which is the old football fields and cricket fields, which is totally taken over now for the TT, which in my youth, and yours probably as well, this was very basic at the back of the old grandstand. I think this was built in 86 from memory, that period anyway. And from the old grandstand had been here since the 20s. It moved on a lot because at the back there was just a few wooden sheds, shacks, really that were there for the officials, the ACU officials, and the tea hut, and then they did erect some marquees in those days, the Bovril tent, etc., etc. But it was basic, and even in the early days, the scrutineers' tent, they were tents, just with the bikes going up onto a ramp, and that goes into the 70s. So it isn't that long ago, but this, with the racing and with everything else, connected to the TT, has moved on into the new century, which it had to do. But it's so different now to what it was, and I think the whole concept. Morning, John. The whole concept. One of my cycling mates there. He's not much cop, but he's a good lad.
GB, yeah. He's in that West Man now as well, isn't he? I think he's somewhere out there. Yeah, John. They all like the cycling, all those boys, don't they? They're into all that, and you are into that in a big way. Like you said about the TT as well. I mean, it is like a mini village, and I'm pretty sure Greenlight, who were doing the TV coverage, I know they've got drones, because they do stuff at various events when they've been away and done stuff in America, and I'm pretty sure they will have sent a drone up at some point around here. Obviously not when the racing and the practice is on, obviously, but yeah, they will have done it, and I'm pretty sure it'd be a good spot. And like you said, I was up on, where was I the other day, and you can just look and you can just see it, and it's just a big sprawl, like you said there, where the VIP and all that. Now that was Corinthians used to play at the top pitch, didn't they?
Yeah.
And then was it Finch Hill used to play the cricket on there? Tim, you were involved
Yeah,
with that?
and Douglas Royal with
Douglas
the
Royal
bottom
on the
pitch.
far side. Yeah, that's right. Or Pot Black as they were years ago.
Yep.
Do you remember that? God, Pot Black 1987. That's what they were.
Right,
That's right. It was that Pot Black
Douglas
1987.
Royal 87.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that
the far pitch, which I've just parked the car now, which is more or less the back of St Ninian's Church. Used to play there from St Ninian's School when I was a kid. When I was at high school there. And that was always known as the slope, but it was on the edge because it was such a slope. If you kicked a corner from one side uphill, you had to be a high kick to get it anywhere near the goals, Whereas going down, you just shot it more or less straight, and it would go quite high for a header.
Well, even in recent times, Governors Athletic played down there, didn't they?
Do you remember the little
pitch
pitch that was in front of the Hailwood Centre as well? There used to be a small football pitch. I played football on there as well when I was a kid. Right in front of the Hailwood Centre, where all them Norton trucks and Dunlop, that used to be a very small football pitch. That did.
Very
quite big for me, though.
Welcome to Football Focus on the
I think the defending was terrible. I mean, was there a football match on last night? Somebody mentioned England played last night or something.
Were
was
they?
it too? I don't know.
You're in a bubble.
Yeah.
This is it. You just don't know what
TT
goes
bubble.
on.
It was their last friendly before the World Cup.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
That was
now
Ellen Road.
Was it what?
Yeah, Ellen Road. I think
Dirty
it was.
Leeds.
Yeah.
Dirty Leeds.
But you've both been obviously part of this for so long now. And Tim, I'm going to come to you and ask, what would you say, if I had to pin it down, what would you say is one of your favourite TT memories
So far.
I'd have to say probably McGuinness doing the 130. Just the reaction from the crowd. I've never heard a cheer like that. I mean, we've heard it since, haven't we? But that was the first time I've really heard, and you could even hear it over the noise of the bikes coming into the pits and everything. That 130 lap of John McGuinness I would put still as a highlight.
I think the cheer when Dino did that lap at the Superbike TT.
Yeah, that was incredible.
That was very, very loud. I mean, really, really everybody, and like you said, when he was going down the programmes and everything was waving. I mean, that's just a bonkers speed. And again, when the Birchalls did the 118 on the sidecar.
Definitely some real sort of memories made this year. John, what about you? What's one of your favourite TT memories?
There's probably three, really. Certainly 67 with Harewood and Agostini. I was a young lad there, and I watched the top of Bagaro that day with a friend and his family. That certainly sticks in my mind. His comeback also in 78, which was absolutely phenomenal, and I've featured that a lot in the TT news this week because it's 40 years ago. In the next era, really, it probably have to be, and there's just to wind Tim up here, 92 Senior, which was the big one with Steve Hislop and Carl Fogarty.
Missed the greatest race of all time.
It was an amazing race. I was on that panel that voted it was the greatest race. I did argue that I think I didn't actually vote for it. I was probably too close to it in a way, but I think the Agostini Harewood was the most significant race because it was a Grand Prix. You know, it was like a Valentino Rossi v Marquez sort of situation. And, you know, on the TT course, absolutely the top two men of their time, and probably two of the top men of all time. And there they were racing around here. I watched it, Bagaro. I was, I can't think what age it was then, 9. But I can remember it distinctly because Agostini, who was a very steady rider, he wasn't an aggressive rider or a ragged rider, but there was a low pavement on the a lot of that area, Concavati, right down and through to Bagaro. the pavements weren't concrete or whatever they are now, tarmac Adam. They were just like dust with a little ridge of a pavement, of an edge to them. And I recall watching Agostini as he went out of view of where I was watching at the fence there, actually on the dust, hitting the dust, so wide out coming out of that corner. And that was an amazing race. The Hislop Fogarty one was fantastic, and I was privileged to be a friend of Steve's. And I still think about him a lot, really. And that day, I knew before he told me that the day he got the Norton, it was only about 3 weeks before, and he didn't have any sponsorship for it. And Abbas Locks came on board and put it in, and I helped him get some sponsors or just some ideas, really. And I knew it meant a lot to him, that riding that bike. It was a bit of the Molly. I'm just looking at Molly's bike there, and it's just it was a bit of that Molly thing where he wanted something different to win on, you know. And the Norton was definitely different, and you know it was unique in that respect, a bit like the Britain was, and various things, and the Norton today. You know, what a thing that would be if Josh Brooks won on the Norton or John McGuinness. You know, absolutely amazing that would be. Well, Steve did it on that Norton, and Carl, give him his due. He pulled out all the stops that day. That OW01 was an absolute animal to ride, and he stuck to it. You know, he wasn't the smoothest of riders, Carl, but he was absolutely on it that day.
He was in bits at the end.
He was in bits, but he lapped to the 124 or whatever it was, which a lap record that stood for quite some years. But that was a phenomenal race, and I think, yes, it was an excellent choice for the race of all time. And that end of that day, just a few yards away from where we sat now, I was in the winner's enclosure, and Steve, I just knew what it meant to him. And I was just trying to get a picture. He just looked at he saw me to the left taking pictures, just about to take a picture. He looked at me and he gave me a wink, and he just went, nodded his head as if to say, I did it, Watty, I did it.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. You know, I was so chuffed for him. I was almost in tears, because it was. I am now. I'm filling up now thinking about it, because I knew it meant so much to him.
Yeah, you knew what had gone. You knew the work that had gone on in the background. It's 8:29 and a half here on Manx Radio TT. We're getting set up for what sort of day we're going to get with the Locate.im Sidecar Race 2, and of course the PokerStars Senior TT Race. We're joined by Manx Radio's Tim Glover, Manx Radio TT's Tim Glover, and John Watterson from Isle of Man Newspapers and Christy DeHaven. We'll be back in a few moments' time. We'll take a short break.